So, after the study of man's place in nature, now we are with the taxonomic position of man in the nature. What is the actual position of man in the nature? So, human beings are firstly classified in kingdom Animalia. That means we are the animals. Due to the ingestion of the food material, we engulf the food material. Then, after the kingdom, there is a phylum. Phylum Chordata. Because we have the notochord, so as the notochord is present, so we are considered in the phylum Chordata. The Chordata having the subphylum, that is the vertebrata. So the males are placed in subphylum Vertebrata, vertebral column and the brain box, that means the cranium is present, so we are considered in the vertebrate. That is the reason. Our division is the Gnathostomata. Gnathostomata, that means the mouth is guarded by jaws. We have the jaws around our mouth, so we come under the division, that is the Gnathostomata. Then our superclass is the Tetrapoda. Tetrapoda, that means we have the presence of forelimbs and hind limbs, so we considered in the Tetrapoda. Then the superclass, the Tetrapoda, is divided into the class, that is the Mammalia. We are the mammals due to the presence of the mammary gland. Then this class is again divided into order, and our order is the primate. So the males are classified in primate. The reason for the primate is the binocular vision and the presence of nails on digit, which shows the binocular vision. Then we comes under the suborder, and that suborder is the Anthropoidea. Anthropoidea because of the facial expression, facial muscles. For the presence of the facial expression, we shows various expressions, so we are placed in the suborder Anthropoidea. Then our family is the Hominoidae. Hominoidae, this is our family. Hominoidae, that means the erect posture and the bipedal locomotion. We shows the erect posture, we can stand erect, and we shows the bipedal locomotion, so our family is the Hominoidea. Then genus is Homo, and our species is sapiens, Homo sapiens. So human beings are mainly having their zoological name, that is the Homo sapien sapien. Okay, so after that we are going towards the difference between the ape and men. What is the difference in between ape and men? We get confused in between ape and men. We consider all these things togetherly. Monkey, ape and man, all these are the similar, and they shows a same phylogenetic relationship or the evolutionary line, but all these animals having the different evolutionary lines. So firstly, the ape. What are the characters of ape? How you can identify this one is the ape and this one is the man? Okay, so first character of ape, they have the prognathous face. Prognathous, that means the jaws come in the forward direction, that is called as the prognathous face. That is considered as prognathous face. So in the upper diagram you can see that there is a presence of the skull of a gorilla, then there is a presence of the skull of another animal, then there is a presence of the skull of Homo sapien. Okay. So in the gorilla, the skull is jaws, lower jaws are directed in the forward direction, so they are considered as the prognathous face. If our jaws come in the forward direction, then our face will become the prognathous face. Okay. Then forehead is slanting. Our forehead is not much slanting, but see here in that skull the forehead get more slanted there. Our forehead is somewhat rounded, but here the forehead is a more slanting forehead. They have protruded and snout with a flat nose. Okay, so their nose becomes somewhat flat. We have a completely clear-cut nasal bridge, so that nasal bridge, our nose get elevated, but here their nose becomes somewhat flat. Then the eyebrow ridges are heavy and protruding. The eyebrow ridges, these eyebrow ridges are very heavy, and the eyebrow ridges get in the forward direction or they get protruded, that means they comes in the forward direction. Their dental arch is a U-shaped parabola. See here in the lower diagram, here is the dental arch of the human being, and here is the presence of the dental arch of the ape. The dental arch of ape is completely U-shaped. Okay, so this is one of the character of the ape. Teeth are large with a simian gap that is known as the diastema. What is that simian gap? The gap which is present in the upper jaw between the incisor and the canine. Okay, incisor and canine. Incisor, that means the front teeth, and the canines, that means the teeth which is present here. In between these two teeth there is a presence of one gap, and this gap is mainly to accommodate the lower canine. Okay, so the lower canine should be fixed in that. So this is called as the diastema. So this is one of the important character of the ape. So in the ape there is a presence of the simian gap which is known as the diastema. Then in the apes, the chin is absent. This portion is called as the chin, and this chin is prominently present in the males. But as the face is a prognathous, so the distinct chin is not present. See here in that first skull, the chin is not present, but here in the last diagram you can see that there is a presence of a chin. Then foramen magnum in skull is directed backward. In the ape, foramen magnum, we know that in our skull at the lower side there is a presence of hole through which the spinal cord comes in the downward direction, that is known as the foramen magnum. But in the ape, the foramen magnum is directed backward. See here in these two skulls, here the foramen magnum is directed somewhat backward, and here the foramen magnum is present at the center. So the foramen magnum is directed backwardly because ape never shows erect posture, but their posture is somewhat semi-erect. So the foramen magnum get directed backwardly. Then the lumbar curve is absent. In the ape, the lumbar curve is not present. When we think about the human beings, in human beings, our vertebral column shows different curvatures. There is a presence of one cervical curve, there is a presence of one lumbar curve, but this lumbar curve is absent in ape. As the lumbar curve is not present, so their posture becomes somewhat semi-erect. And as we have that lumbar curve, so we can stand upright and our posture becomes erect in nature. Okay, pelvic girdle is narrow and elongated. See here the pelvic girdles. Here is the pelvic girdle of the chimpanzee, here is the presence of the pelvic girdle of Australopithecus, and here is the presence of pelvic girdle of Homo sapiens. Okay, see the difference in between these three pelvic girdle. Here in the first pelvic girdle which is present in the ape, this pelvic girdle is somewhat narrow and it is elongated. Okay, so this is again one of the important character which is present in the ape. Then forelimbs are long than the hind limbs. In the apes, the forelimbs are much longer than the hind limbs, because in the semi-erect posture they put their hands on the land. So their forelimbs are very long and the hind limbs are somewhat shorter. Thigh bone is straight. We know that we have the thigh bone which is known as the femur, and the femur shows the curvature. But here in the ape, the thigh bone never shows any curvature. The thigh bones are generally straight in nature. They are semi-erect and quadrupedal. Semi-erect because they cannot stand upright and their locomotion is always quadrupedal. Their cranial capacity is about 400 to 600 cc. Okay, our cranial capacity is more than the apes. Ape cranial capacity is about 400 to 600 cc. Body hairs are long and coarse. When you see any chimpanzee, this chimpanzee shows all the characters of the ape. So the chimpanzee is actually the ape. Orangutan or gorilla is also one of the apes. Okay, so these are the characters of ape. Okay, then we will discuss the characters of men. The completely opposite characters are present in the males. In men, they have the orthognathous face. The face is not prognathous, but the face is orthognathous. Our mandible is not so much elongated, but our jaw bones are present just behind our nose, so our face become orthognathous. Forehead is developed and high. We know that in the apes, forehead is somewhat slanting, but in human being, the forehead is developed and the forehead is somewhat rounded and it is somewhat high. Okay, eyebrow ridges are low. Okay, they have the elevated nose. We know that we have an elevated nose which is flat in ape, but we have the elevated nose. Our eyebrow ridges are not so heavy, but they are light or they are low. The dental arch is a rounded parabola. In the ape, the dental arch is a U-shaped parabola, but in the man, the dental arch is an rounded parabola. The teeth are small without simian gap. In the human being, teeth are small, and in human being, the simian gap or the diastema is not present, because in us, the canines get reduced and the canines become small. Chin is distinct. We have a separate chin. So, chin is absent in ape, but the chin is present in men's. Foramen magnum in skull is directed downward, not backward. When the foramen magnum is directed backward, that is the character of ape. And when the foramen magnum is in skull is directed downward, that is the character of men. Lumbar curve is present. We know that we have the lumbar curve, and due to the presence of this lumbar curve, we can stand, we can show an erect posture, we can stand upright. Okay, so that lumbar curve is very important. Pelvic girdle is broad and basin-like. In ape, the pelvic girdle is narrow and elongated, but in men, the pelvic girdle is broad and it is like a basin. Okay. Forelimbs are shorter than the hind limbs. We know that. Our forelimbs are always shorter than our hind limb because we shows an erect posture. Then, the thigh bone is inwardly curved. Our thigh bones are never straight, but our thigh bones get inwardly curved. See here, this diagram represents that this one is the thigh bone of the gorilla and here is the thigh bone of the man. Okay. So in the gorilla or in the ape, the thigh bone is always straight, but in men, the thigh bone is always curved. You can see the difference between the pelvic girdle. Here, the pelvic girdle is an elongated, but here, the pelvic girdle is somewhat narrow. Pelvic girdle is like a basin. Okay, so the thigh bone, that is the important character. See here, thigh bone is straight and here, the thigh bone is curved. They have erect posture and bipedal locomotion. This is the character of men. They having the erect posture and their locomotion is always bipedal locomotion. Cranial capacity is 1450 cc. Okay, this one is a good cranial capacity which is developed in the males. The body hairs are short and soft. Their body hairs are always short and soft. So these are the different characters which are present in the ape and men. We have to remember the characters of ape and men because in the chronological order or while studying the fossils, when we see the skull or the different parts of the body or the different parts of the skeleton which are present in the form of fossil, and with the help of these fossils, by the characters we can easily identify either that is a man or that is the ape. So now we are going towards the human evolution. Paleontological evidences. The ancestor of man lived on the trees, but the man is a terrestrial animal. Men originated from the ancient ape, fossil bones of human ancestor, and discovered from Africa, Germany, France, China, Java, and other parts of the Asia. The available fossils are skull, mandible, teeth, and bones like the humerus, femur, and stone implements. On the basis of these paleontological evidences, the human evolution is categorized or converted into the 4 stages of development. So therefore, there are 4 main stages in the origin of men. So first stage in the origin of men, that first stage is known as the ape stage. That is called as the ape stage. The ancestor of man was a primitive apes which lived 30 million years ago. The primitive ancestral ape was Propleopithecus, that we will discuss later on. That Propleopithecus is considered as the ape stage. This ape gives rise to the Dryopithecus, the next stage. Okay, second stage, that is the ape main stage. In this stage, this animal shows the character of ape as well as man. This stage is an intermediate between ape and man. The important ape men includes the Ramapithecus, Caniapithecus and the Australopithecus. Of these, Australopithecus was the connecting link between the ape and the primitive men. So here we got the connecting link. Australopithecus is considered as the connecting link between the ape and the primitive men stage. Okay, third stage of the human development or human evolution, that is called as the primitive man, or that is also known as the prehistoric man. They were the first true men. The following are the important men or the prehistoric men. The first one is Homo habilis, which is also known as the handyman. Then Homo erectus, there is a presence of two Homo erectus, that is a Java man and the picking man. Then Homo neanderthalensis, that is a Neanderthal man. And lastly, there is a presence of the fourth stage of the human evolution, which is known as the modern man. It includes all the existing mans and also extinct mans. Cro-Magnon, called as the Homo sapien fossilis, was the extinct modern man, and the modern man of the today is called as the Homo sapien. That means we comes from that Cro-Magnon. Okay, so our previously ancestors are the Cro-Magnon, and nowadays we are the Homo sapiens. So these are the four stages in the evolution of human. Now we see the chronological order of the human evolution, how the evolution is carried out, how the ape and the males get differentiated, how the apes get converted into men. So the first stage, that is the ape stage, which is known as the Propleopithecus. So see here, this one is the Propleopithecus. We found only the skull of a Propleopithecus, and on the basis of this skull, we reconstruct the imaginary image of the Propleopithecus, which is represented here at the upper side. So the Propleopithecus, its a fossil, is discovered by the Simpson, obtained from the Fayum deposits of the Egypt. Their time 30 million years ago, Oligocene epoch of the tertiary period of the Cenozoic era. So we have to remember this time. 30 million years ago on this earth there is a presence of these Propleopithecus. That means these are the ape stage. Their character is the ape stage. These are the ape-like primates. We know the primate, that means the organism or the animal who having the binocular vision, who having the nails on their digits, so they are considered as the primate. So ape-like primates, it was represented by the fossil jaw and teeth. So we found what we found? We found only the fossil of jaw and the teeth. That means this skull is mainly obtained from that Fayum deposit. It is more or less like ape. So it is more or less like ape. Incisors were vertical rather than forward. Incisors are vertical rather than forward. Okay. It might be ancestor of ape and man. It is not perfect. It might be the ancestor of ape and man. So this one is the Propleopithecus. Here is the reconstructed image, and here is the fossil of the Propleopithecus. Then the second one, that is the Dryopithecus. Dryopithecus is discovered by LBS Leakey in 1930, obtained from the islands in the Lake Victoria of Africa. Then Haritalanga in the Bilaspur district of the Himachal Pradesh. That means the Dryopithecus is also is present in our India in the Himachal Pradesh in the Haritalanga in the Bilaspur district, from where we found mainly the fossils of this Dryopithecus. What is the time of this Dryopithecus on this earth? 25 to 20 million years ago, in Miocene epoch of the tertiary period of the Cenozoic era. This shows the characters of the ape. So this is also one of the ape stage. That means the Propleopithecus as well as the Dryopithecus, these are the ape stages. They shows close similarity with the chimpanzee. So see here, this ape stage is perfectly look like the chimpanzee. Its legs and heels indicates semi-erect posture. So they are not show any erect posture, but their posture is always the semi-erect posture. So this one is the Dryopithecus. After the Dryopithecus, there is a Ramapithecus. Ramapithecus discovered by G.E. Lewis in 1930. Obtained from the rocks of Sivalik Hills and Kenya, Africa. The fossils which are obtained from the Sivalik Hills, they are known as the Ramapithecus, and the fossils which are obtained from the Kenya, Africa, they are known as Kenyapithecus. Actually both are same, but their habitats are different, so the fossils are named differently. Okay, their time 14 to 12 million years ago in late Miocene and early Pliocene epoch of the tertiary period of the Cenozoic era. This Ramapithecus is important because it is an ape main stage. It shows the somewhat character of ape as well as it shows the somewhat character of the man. They walked erect on their hind limbs. Dryopithecus evolved into Ramapithecus, which is on the direct line of human evolution. That means these Ramapithecus are evolved from the Dryopithecus, and this Ramapithecus is directly on the line of human evolution. Then, after the Ramapithecus, there is the Australopithecus. Australopithecus, discovered by Raymond Dart in 1920, obtained from tongue in Africa in the lime quarry by the workers. So it is also called as the tongue baby because it is obtained from the tongue. Time 4 to 1.8 million years ago in a late Pliocene and early Pleistocene epoch of tertiary period of the Cenozoic era. This Australopithecus is mainly the connecting link between the ape and man. It is also called as the tongue baby. Ape-like characters. It shows the character of both. That is, it shows the character of ape as well as it shows the character of man. Okay. So, which characters are like the ape? So, the ape-like characters, jaw and teeth, large than the modern man. Their jaws and teeth are larger than the modern men. This is the character of ape. Face was a prognathous. This is the character of ape. Chin is absent. Eyebrow ridges heavy, and cranial capacity was 450 to 600 cc. So these characters which are present in the Australopithecus, these characters are like the ape, man-like characters. 4 feet height, walked straight, lumbar curve, basin-like pelvic girdle, simian gap is absent, and parabola-like dentition. These are the characters of men which are present in the Australopithecus. So the Australopithecus is a man with ape brain. So it is a connecting link in between the ape and man. So the Australopithecus or the tongue baby, more commonly called as a man with ape brain. Okay, so this one is the Australopithecus. See, his facial characters are like the ape, but his upright posture, this is like the man. So it is a connecting link in between the ape and the man. Okay, then after the Australopithecus, then the Homo habilis, that is called as the handyman. Okay, Homo habilis or handyman, discovered by Leakey, obtained from Ordovician, George, Tanzania, Africa. So these fossils are mainly obtained from Africa. Time 2.5 to 1.4 million years ago in late Pliocene or early Pleistocene epoch of the tertiary period of Cenozoic era. Tertiary period. We are present now in the quaternary period, so they are present in the tertiary period. Characters. It is an prehistoric man. Okay. So ape stages are finished now, the main stages are started, but this man is an prehistoric man. They lived in the open grassland, moved erect and omnivorous. Open grassland, they always live in open grassland, they walked erect and they are omnivorous. That means herbivorous as well as carnivorous, that is called as omnivorous. Lower jaw was lightly built, so the face never become the somewhat prognathous. Dentition was more like of the modern man. It had small molars. Molar teeth are smaller. He made a tool from the stone, so-called tool makers or the handyman. Okay, they made tools with the help of stone. So they are called as the tool maker or they are known as the handyman. Their cranial capacity goes on increasing. Their cranial capacity was 650 to 800 cc. This is the cranial capacity which is present in the Homo habilis. Okay. So see the Homo habilis here. Homo habilis use their hands to create the tools. So this man is considered as the handyman. So here are the two reconstructed images of these Homo habilis. Okay, this one image and this one is the second image, and both these images shows the character of this prehistoric man which is known as the handyman or which is known as the Homo habilis, and in his hand there is a presence of the tools which are mainly made up of the stones. Okay, then next one is a Homo erectus. After the handyman there is a presence of the Homo erectus. Actually, there is a presence of the two species of the Homo erectus. The first one is known as the Java man and the second one is known as the Peking man. So firstly, we will discuss the fossil of the Java man and later on we will go towards the Peking man. So firstly, the Java man. Java man, his fossil was firstly discovered by the Du Bois in 1891, obtained from the rocks on the bank of river Solo in Java. So they are known as the Java man and later on they are named as Pithecanthropus erectus. Okay, Java man is also known as Pithecanthropus erectus. Java man, this name is given because their fossils are obtained from the bank of a river of Solo in the Java. Time 5 million years ago in the middle Pleistocene epoch of the quaternary period. Then their characters. Height was about 5 feet, like us, walked erect. Face was prognathous. Jaws were massive and huge teeth. So the jaws are very massive, very large, and teeth are very huge teeth. Chin was absent. Eyebrow ridges were present, so the eyebrow ridges are prominent. It was more ape-like than the men, hence they are called as the Java ape men. Okay, their characters are more similar with the ape, so they are considered as the Java ape men. Cranial capacity is large, 940 cc. It might have made use fire. So who discovered firstly the fire? The fire is firstly discovered, it is assumed that the fire is firstly discovered by this Java man, or they use fire firstly, not discovered but they use fire firstly. How to use the fire? This technique is developed by the Java man. Then the original species of Pithecanthropus erectus has been named as Homo erectus erectus by Mayer. So you have to remember these three names. That is the Java man, then Pithecanthropus erectus, which is also called as the Homo erectus erectus later on by the Mayer. So this is about the Java man. And nextly there is the presence of the Peking man. Peking man is discovered by WCP in 1924. He obtained these fossils from the caves near the Peking, China. So the Peking man is named by its origin, that is the Peking, caves near the Peking, China. They are similar with the Java man, so named as Pithecanthropus pekensis. Here Pithecanthropus erectus, here is the Pithecanthropus pekensis. Time is same. Their time is same. Characters. It was very much similar with the Java man. Heavy, bony eyebrow ridges, low slanting forehead and chinless face. Cranial capacity was much larger than the Java man, about 850 to 1020 cc. But their cranial capacity is larger than the Java man. Java man having the cranial capacity 940 cc, but here the cranial capacity increased, and this cranial capacity is in between 850 to 1020 cc. It is considered as the subspecies of the Java man and hence named as Homo erectus pekensis. Java man is considered as the Homo erectus erectus, but the Peking man is known as Homo erectus pekensis. See, here is the Java man and here is the Peking man. And this one is the person who discovered this fossil, that is the Du Bois. Here the actual fossils which discovered at the upper side. Here is the fossil of the Java man, here is the fossil of the Peking man, and here are the reconstructed images of the Java man and Peking man, which looks much similar with each other, but the difference is that here the eyebrow ridges are very heavy and here the eyebrow ridges are somewhat light eyebrow ridges, but the faces are prognathous in both these fossils. Okay, so the Java man and the Peking man. Then Heidelbergensis, Heidelberg man or the Homo heidelbergensis. The fossil of this prehistoric man was recovered from the river sand near Heidelberg in the Germany. Its dentition was modern man-like. It is supposed to be the ancestor of Neanderthal man and now named as Homo heidelbergensis. Okay. Then the next one, that is the Neanderthal man, which comes from the Homo heidelbergensis. So the Neanderthal man, it is also named as Homo neanderthalensis. Who discovered it? Full rot in 1856. This paleontologists mainly discovered or obtained the fossil of this Neanderthal man, obtained from Neanderthal Valley, Germany. Heidelberg is also present in the Germany, and here Neanderthal Valley is also present in Germany. So from the Neanderthal Valley these fossils are obtained, so these are called as the Neanderthal man, and their fossils are obtained from 150,000 years ago in late Pleistocene epoch and were widespread in Europe, Asia and in North America. That means it may be assumed that we comes from this Neanderthal man, because this Neanderthal man spread in the Asia and Europe also. So European races maybe comes from this Neanderthal man. They become extinct about 25,000 years ago. Okay, the characters. Neanderthal man was an advanced prehistoric man. Their body build was heavy and short. Their body build is very heavy and they are short. Had prominent bow ridges. Eyebrow ridges are prominent. Skull bone were thick. Forehead was low and slanting. Jaw was deep without chin. That means the face was not so prognathous, but the jaws were deep without chin. outwardly curved thigh bones. Okay, the cranial capacity is more than us, that sorry is same with us, that is 1450 cc. They were intelligent to use and construct the flint tools. They buried their dead bodies along with their tools and were supposed to perform the ceremonies. These are the character of this Neanderthal man. Okay, so see, this one is the Neanderthal man, who is our primitive, or it may be considered as he is our ancestor. He used his brain, he create their flint tools, and they perform the ceremonies like us. Okay, so next man, that is a Cro-Magnon man. Cro-Magnon is also considered as Homo sapien fossilis. Homo sapien. This is also an wise person, but now they are present in the form of fossils, so they are known as the Homo sapien fossilis. Discovered by MacGregor in 1868, obtained from Cro-Magnon rocks of the France, and later on the fossils were recorded from Czechoslovakia, Africa, and other parts of the France. And their time is 50,000 years ago and become extinct about 20,000 years ago. Characters: they were about 5 to 6 feet in height, that means 180 centimeters, like us, with large skull, rounded forehead, distinct chin, narrow nose, eyebrow ridges, thin and broad face. Cranial capacity is about 1600 cc. That means their cranial capacity is much larger than us. We know that in the evolutionary process there is always advancement or the development of characters. But how in the evolutionary process later on in us the cranial capacity decreases? The answer is in your control and coordination. Because brain require more energy. About 40% energy is consumed, or 40% glucose is consumed by the brain. And if the brain is larger, that means it require more energy. So to save the energy, the size of brain decreases in the next generation or in the next stage. Okay, so the cranial capacity is more here. They lived in caves. Okay, now men comes in caves. So they lived in caves. They are expert in painting and hunting. So in few caves there is a presence of the paintings which are created by these ancestors of us, and these paintings are mainly created by these Cro-Magnon man. They made weapons such as spearhead, bows and arrow. They made ornaments from the ivory. Ivory, that means the teeth of the elephant, and from that ivory they make their ornament and decorate their bodies. They use hides of animals to protect their body and buried their dead according to their customs. So see, this one is the Cro-Magnon man, and these are the paintings which are made by this Cro-Magnon man in the caves. And here is the fossil of this Cro-Magnon man, and on the basis of this fossil, here is an reconstructed image of this Cro-Magnon man. After the Cro-Magnon man, there is Homo sapien, that means we. Now we know our characters. So concentrate on this chapter. This chapter is mainly an theoretical chapter. So mainly concentrate on the theories. Separate this chapter into 3 parts. Firstly, the origin of life, it's 3 to 4 theories. Then the organic evolution, it's 3 to 4 theories. And later on, the evidences, and then the process of evolution, human evolution. Thank you.